Angry salon customers have descended on the home of Nancy Pelosi, hanging up hair curlers on trees, I guess. And they're angry that she went out maskless to get her hair done when you're not allowed to do it. Now, I got to say a couple things about this, and then we'll read about what's going on in the press with these protests and the view of them. I'm actually not a big fan of this. Now, first and foremost, nonviolent civil disobedience, especially the kind where they didn't actually get arrested or do anything arrest-worthy, I do like. I think if you're going to go out and protest and you're going to block a street or something and you end up getting arrested, I'm actually okay with that within reason, that you're like pushing on the line, and it's the normal course of nonviolent protest. It can be annoying. I get it. But as long as the people aren't violent, and I guess when it happens nonstop all day, every day, it can be a little over the top. But within reason, that's kind of the limit for me. However, a protest like this where they go to someone's home kind of crosses the line for me. I don't think anybody should be going to the private homes of people. I don't care if you're on the left or the right. I don't know, at least for now, maybe. Maybe when things were calmer and more simmered down, it'd probably be fine. But we're in a time of extremely heightened tensions, political discord, but more importantly, weaponization of, propaganda. If the right goes out of people's homes, the left is going to absolutely take this and start screaming, look what they're doing, look what they're doing. Meanwhile, the left is actually spray painting people's homes and smashing things up and attacking their houses. The right shouldn't be doing that. Admittedly, though, I don't think this is that big of a deal. It's actually kind of funny. And they're going after Pelosi for being a hypocrite. So, hey, I can accept that. But in the media, they've actually taken to blaming journalists who are just covering the protests for causing the protests. It's actually remarkable. MIT Technology Review, I covered this briefly in my main channel segment, are blaming Elijah Schaffer and Andy Ngo specifically for warning people about violence, claiming that by doing so, the videos incite more violence. That's ridiculous. But it's an example of how the media will weaponize anything they can to smear Trump and the right. So you got to be careful about this. Now, we can laugh about Pelosi being a hypocrite and people protesting at her house. I think that's pretty funny. Just keep that in mind. Let's read the story. Fox News says, protesters gather at SF home of Nancy Pelosi, hang up hair curlers after salon visit. Some of the protesters were described as angry salon customers, reports said. More than a dozen protesters gathered outside the home of Nancy Pelosi. The rally occurred after Pelosi was captured on video getting her hair cut inside E-Salon SF, even though it was closed due to the coronavirus-related ordinances. Some of the protesters, described as angry salon customers, wore curlers in their hair. Others hung blow dryers and hair curlers in a tree outside the residence to express their frustration. I really like this protest. I do. Like when the left does funny things, like there's one video I saw where actually they do this a lot. They'll dangle donuts in front of cops. I actually think that's fine. Have a sense of humor, be silly. And there was actually a viral video which kind of made me angry, where this dude's walking around with a donut on hanging from a string like a fishing pole, and all of the cops laugh about it, but one cop gets really mad. He's like, "Get that out of my face!" And then they arrest the guy. Now, admittedly, you put a stick in some guy's face and wiggle it around. I don't care what it is. Like, that could be assault in some jurisdiction. So I don't know about getting all triggered and getting angry. I think the appropriate response is to laugh about it. But there are some funny protests you can do. And this is certainly one of them at Nancy Pelosi's house. Quote, what she has done is slap the face of not just a salon owner, but every woman, every man, every person who's unemployed in the state of California, who has lost their jobs and lost their livelihoods, many of whom are my friends, one protester said. San Francisco's Cron TV reported. Salons in San Francisco have been closed since March and were only notified that they could reopen on September 1st for outdoor hairstyling services only. Jessica Christian tweeted, protesters have gathered in front of Nancy Pelosi's San Francisco home and are stringing up curlers and blow dryers in a tree after video surfaced of Pelosi getting her haircut, this we know. This is funny. Some of these women are like middle-aged women. Like, how do you ignite the middle-aged woman voter? Go get your hair cut when they can't get their hair cut. How dare you, Nancy? The greatest injustice. I think for the most part, they're just being silly, but I'm just kidding. According to a video posted by SF Chronicle reporter Jessica Christian, the group decorated a tree outside the home with an American flag, declaring it the Freedom Tree. The protesters would also gather in a circle outside the residence. We gather to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to earn a living and feed their families, one protester said before the group raised their hands in unison. Mayor London Breed was asked on Friday about the protesters. She said it was time to move on. I get that they have these feelings. They are voicing their feelings, but we are doing the very best we can. And I know that's not good enough for them. I understand, Breed told Los Angeles KABC TV. I get it. But at the end of the day, it's really time for us to move on. Really? Really time for us to move on? You're doing the best you can. Well, what about any other jurisdiction? Come on. That's not a response. You've locked down the city. You've locked down the state. People are suffering. The same is true for Black Lives Matter. People have lost their lives. They're sad. They're upset. The only difference with the Black Lives Matter is that in New York, for instance, Cuomo said, "You've won. What do you want?" And they said, "Smashy, smashy." So you do your peaceful protest. You win. I can respect all that. Now you say, here's what we want to do. I can respect all that too. These people are simply saying, give us our jobs back. Let us run our businesses again. Whereas Black Lives Matter are saying, smashy, smashy, defund the police. Well, that's insane. Come on. You can't, it's almost like a hostage situation where they're like, I want 50 large anchovy pizzas, 3 helicopters. Whoa, dude, we can't get you those things. That's ridiculous. Not like they would actually negotiate with the hostage, taker anyway. The point is, what they're asking for on the left is it's almost purposefully impossible to deliver. So that way they can say, why won't change happen? I see these posts on Reddit where someone mentioned, it was like the 80th day of rioting or whatever, because now it's on like 100. But someone said they keep rioting and nothing's changing. What do people like? Why won't the police do anything? Someone responded, the protesters keep rioting, wondering why nothing is changing. And it just keeps happening. It's as if we should be negotiating with rioters anyway. But the point is, they're asking for impossible things. We want the police department abolished. Well, we can't do that. That's insane. Okay, we want it defunded 50%. That's what they said in Seattle. We can't do that either. That's insane. Okay, then I guess they just keep rioting because their demands are insane and cannot be done. Now, what are they protesting here? Let me cut hair. Yeah, that we could do. Yeah, we could. And what do they say? Well, we're trying our best. You know what? Shut up. I want to highlight this article here from the Post Millennial. They say article in MIT Technology Review blames conservative journalists for violent riots. It's not. The funny thing about this is the people covering the riots aren't just conservative. There actually are regular journalists who have been on the ground. There was a guy from New York Times who's been to several of these events. In fact, it was a New York Times reporter who did the accurate analysis, not perfectly accurate, but pretty accurate analysis of the Kyle Rittenhouse situation. Yet who does the MIT Technology Review blame? They explicitly blame Elijah Schaffer and Andy Ngo. Elijah tweets, Harvard in 2020, quote, these narratives have been intensified and supplemented by the work of right-wing adversarial media makers like Elijah Schaffer and Andy Ngo, who collect videos of conflict at public protest and recirculate them to their audiences. It's called journalism. It's called the conflict beat. I did the same thing for years. Back then, they loved it, though. You know why? Because the corporate press wasn't trying to manipulate and use these people for political gain. Now they are. Now, all of a sudden, you must condemn anyone who's angry about rioting. This is why I say I don't like people going to people's homes, okay? Look how insane this is. Just wait until, you got these people showing up to Nancy Pelosi's house, and it was a simple, peaceful protest of about a dozen people, and it was silly and it was funny. But they're going to start saying things out of context and misframed. Well, they're showing up to our homes, too. Although there's a very big contextual difference, being the left smashes windows, has killed several people, and salon customers who are upset haven't. The media is going to play a dirty game. They say her theory is that the violence wasn't documented. If the violence wasn't documented, people would not be so upset, and this would calm everything down a bit. Hold on, I got to be fair though. It's kind of pathetic that they're doing a smear of conservative reporters for simply reporting on this, but there is a point to be made. She mentioned specifically Occupy Wall Street, a moment where the police walked up and pepper sprayed, I believe it was 4 women who were just standing on the sidewalk. This created one of the fastest growing viral videos ever at the time. It's like 1 million views in like 12 hours. And that triggered Occupy Wall Street. No joke. It was Officer Anthony Bologna. They call him Tony Baloney. He walked up for no reason and just sprayed these women. that were not detained, and nobody knows why. It's like they were yelling at him, I guess, and he got frustrated, so he did it. I've seen cops do dumb things, and that triggered Occupy Wall Street. Before that, it was isolated to New York, and it wasn't that popular, wasn't that big, and no one really cared. The police need to be careful about what they do. Because earlier this morning, I covered a story where an angry homeowner came out to talk to the police because he had tear gas in his house. And one cop was listening to him when another cop whacked him over the back of the head. These cops got to be careful, and they need to be held accountable. I'll end by saying this. I think it's hilarious they're protesting at Nancy Pelosi's. I know. You know, I've said it. The point I want to make, wrapping all of this up, I have no problem criticizing cops when they do bad. I think we need our police. I think we need better training and more funding for them. And I think cops honestly should be paid a lot more. I really do. I think some of the higher level cops should probably get paid a little bit less in some areas. And the beat cops need to get paid a bit more, 100%. I want these cops to know and respect the job more than they do. And I think many of them already do. But I want cops to be trained better. And I want a better culture among police. I want cops to view themselves not as arbiters of the law who have to deal with the scum of the earth. I want them to view themselves more like superheroes. I know many probably do, but I think one way that we can deal with a lot of the problems beyond reform is just a culture of honor and integrity. Cops knowing that they're going out there facing real danger every day. Many of them do. But when you see these cops like whack a dude over the back of the head and do bad, it's because they're fed up and they've snapped. And that's what we need to deal with that. I think most cops absolutely are not that way because I've actually seen awesome videos from good cops. I have no problem calling out bad cops. I have no problem talking about what I want in terms of improving police. And I have no problem calling out the far left. They can't say the same. And what happens? They come out and they blame the journalists who happen to have covered it. Whatever. How we solve that, you know what? Maybe I'm not the smartest person in the world, but talking about it helps. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up in just a few minutes. Stick around and I will see you all shortly.